And so that just means, as you heard, we are recording the session. So if you do miss something, or if you want to share it with somebody later because the information was amazing, which it will be, or if you just, have to step away for a minute and come back, just know that this recording will be shared with anyone who registered for the event. If there are friends of yours, colleagues, coworkers, family members who did not register and still wish to do so, I believe the registration stays open for an extra day. So tell them to come back to the same link into that lobby area. They can put their information in, and we'll make sure they have access to the video as well. My name is Mike, and we can get started here today. We have a really great session that we want to have plenty of time for. We will do some Q&A as well, which I'll explain how that will work. But I'm Mike with ClearAdmit. ClearAdmit is an MBA applicant resource site and community for those of you who are applying to the top business schools worldwide. There's a lot of really great information to help you through that application process, whether that is in the form of an interview report or an essay topic analyses, or our Livewire feed where you can check what's going on in the world of MBA admissions daily with live updates from current applicants as to where they are in the process. So lots of really great materials, most of which are free. So if you haven't checked out our site just yet, come and do that and hang out with us. And that's enough about ClearAdmit. This session is all about Carnegie Mellon University's Tepper School of Business and the ROI of their MBA program, which if you are applying for an MBA and you have not looked into the ROI yet, it's definitely something that I would highly recommend. I think that's a great way to help you select a program. I know scholarships on the front end is something that a lot of people kind of focus in on. It's a little more widespread, but that return on the back end might be just as important or more important as it comes into play with things like your career placement, the salaries that you're making coming out of programs, and how that relates to the actual cost of the program. So great number to know about, great way to evaluate your program choices. And we have Douglas Alford, a director of master's admissions with the Tepper team, who's here to talk to you all about ROI of MBA programs, specific to Tepper as well, and probably just answer some questions generally about Tepper's programs and offerings. So Douglas, we're really happy to have you, and I'll let you take it from here.
Hi, thank you very much, Mike. I think that I appreciate you allowing me to grab the screen as well. Now, as you mentioned, I just want to provide a little bit of information and stuff. Again, my name is Douglas Alford. I am one of the directors of master's admissions here at the Tepper School of Business, and I'm excited to spend a little bit more time discussing the return on investment of a Tepper MBA. Now, I'm really excited to talk about this subject because it was something that was very important to me while I was making the decision to actually join the Tepper School of Business. Had two primary focus. The first is that I was very interested in moving back from the West Coast to the East Coast, and I wanted to be in a more medium-sized city, and Pittsburgh was a great fit. But I had to ensure that the school that I was going to work with provided a strong return on investment for all their graduates. As someone that works as an admissions professional, I think often about the cost of the investment of MBA, and I wanted to make sure that the students I had a chance to work with would have access to the top companies, as well as gaining access to the industries, as well as the particular job functions they were interested in. And not only gaining access to those, but gaining access to those at a competitive salary. I had a chance to myself spend some time diving into the Master's Career Center employment report. And for me, there it was clear to see that those students at the Tepper School fell into that category and made sound investments. Now, in order to calculate the return on investment, I think there are several factors in which you'll want to consider. And there are certain advantages that you're going to want to weigh. The Tepper advantage, one thing that generally comes out is academic prestige. Now, the opportunity to attend a reputable university, one that is historically and consistently received high accolades for research, high accolades for academics, and one that has a history of producing, high-performing graduates. These things are important. Now, I know it does feel good to say that you graduated from a highly ranked program, because I understand how good it actually feels for me to say that I work at one. So I can only imagine what it feels like for a student to say that they're actually attending. Now, while the power academic procedure, I understand it's a factor, but it shouldn't be the factor. You should actually select the school that's going to meet both your academic and your professional goal. That's going to be the school that you're really going to want to invest in. Now, when it comes to Tepper, I want to focus on what separates us apart from our peers. and what allows us to provide, such a strong return on investment for our graduates. And for me, I believe it starts with the curriculum. So our curriculum is actually designed with an eye on preparing students for the future of business. So if you go back and you look throughout our history, all the way back to 1949, we've worked to stay ahead of the marketplace. And we've done this by focusing on a more rigorous approach to leadership and also by using technology and analytics within our core curriculum. When our school was founded, again, the conventional approach to business education was to learn through case study methods. Again, that's still a prominent approach, and there's nothing wrong with that. We utilize case study methods in our curriculum as well. However, we thought it was important for us to find a better way to actually solve some of the world's most pressing problems. Now, that process in which we utilize is actually called management science. And it can be most easily described as decision-making powered by analytics. Now, if you fast forward to the current time here in 2024, you can see by taking a look at our core curriculum that the focus still remains the same. So we have a focus on analytics, and you can see that through different class courses. A good example would be probability and statistics, optimization, statistical decision-making, as well as the foundation of business fundamental courses like finance, corporate strategy, as well as economics. So these courses are going to provide the skills that are needed to not only understand data, but also to be able to better use it to make more sound business decisions. Now, the curriculum is designed to provide more of an in-depth study in a particular field of career, right? But we also want to provide different tracks and concentrations. When you're thinking about the tracks and concentrations, I think it can be simplified by looking at it this way. If you look as a track, as a major, and then a concentration as a minor. So this really allows our students to specialize in a specific area of interest or focus. For example, let's say you're a student who has interest. You may choose to pursue a business analytics track, and you may want to couple that with a concentration on healthcare analytics. And you would do that if you're interested in working in the healthcare industry. Or let's say you're a student who has interest in product management. In that case, you may want to select the management of innovation and product development. You may want to couple that with concentrations in strategy and sustainability. For you, that may be a good choice for that candidate, particularly if you're interested in enrolling at ESG. Now, our curriculum has other advantages, particularly advantages for students coming from international countries. So for those students, we've earned the designation of a STEM MBA. And students who are graduating from STEM MBA programs can also apply for additional 24-month extension to their post-completion OPT. So in that case, you can also receive up to 36 months of temporary employment in the US. Now, another area in which our curriculum and our resources are really going to help support your growth and also provide a strong return on investment is leadership development. So for students who are looking to grow as a leader, and again, that should be all of you, we offer specific courses that support this goal. Managing teams and management presentations are just a couple of those course examples. But outside of those courses, we also have other leadership development opportunities. A good example would be through student clubs and student organizations. But I think the most pertinent example is the Accelerate Leadership Center. For us, I believe that is our biggest tool in helping you to really helping to assist you on your leadership journey. With the Accelerate Leadership Center, you'll actually be working one-on-one with leadership coaches to both clarify your goals as well as develop your skills. They're going to be there to really help you create an action plan. That way you can really explore both practical applications of leadership principles as well as gaining an opportunity to actually earn a leadership development certification. Again, the certification isn't required, but it's a great tool and it's a great opportunity for you to continue to explore and develop your leadership skills. If you go through the certificate program, you'll again be able to focus on learning to lead, but learning to lead with empathy. And that's done so through the workshops and other means within the program as well. Now, that's a bit about how we choose to develop you as a leader. But I also want to spend time focused on how we can also really help you grow as a professional. So I want to start with the career tracks. These trips, they're actually jointly organized by the Master's Career Center, as well as our professional student clubs. They provide students with a firsthand perspective on the organization structure, as well as the work culture in the companies that they'll be joining their upcoming career path. So, for example, let's say if you look at the photo here on the left, you'll see the Entrepreneurship Club, and you can see them actually visiting Silicon Valley. If you take a look at the photo, you'll notice we have 27 students that traveled to the Bay Area to explore startups and to have opportunity to meet with investors. So this is what I would consider a great opportunity for them to make connections that are also going to be able to help support their internship as well as their recruiting search. Also, as you can see, if you take a look at the photo on the right, you'll also see there's other additional paths and other options. In this case, if you're looking at the consulting club, you can see they also made similar trips. They went to a multitude of cities. In this case, they visited the Boston, Chicago, New York City metro areas. And in their case, they were using this as an opportunity to connect with companies as well as alumni across a wide range of industry and functions. Now, the career tracks, they're just one example of the ways in which you'll get additional support from the Master's Career Center. But again, there's a wide variety. There are many. And truthfully, that's why I'm such a big fan of my colleagues in the Master Career Center or MCC office, as I'll likely refer to it moving forward. They have a very structured approach to the way they do work, the way they do business. They provide support for you before the program really even begins. Once you're on campus, you also get added access and an opportunity to connect with them one-on-one through career counseling. So let's say you're a student and you're looking to grow within a current industry. There's going to be added opportunity to do so through additional coaching through promotion. So if you're at a current employer and you really anticipate returning there post MBA, having the opportunity to work with our career coaches on how to gain access to promotions with your employers should be more helpful. Or let's say you're a student who's coming to the MBA program because you know that you're looking for a change. In that case, there's additional guidance on industry pivots and something that they're very well pressed and instructed to help you support as well. There's also other options when it comes to resume development and added support for interview prep. Again, of course, they also coordinate recruitment events throughout the year, and they really help guide you through the recruitment process. So again, I'm really a big fan of the work in which they do. And I think they provide an amazing advantage for our students. But another big advantage of our program is something that it offers is just the sheer size of it. So we're a more smaller program than many of our peers. And for us, that's actually an intentional choice. We believe that a smaller, close-knit student community is actually going to provide a more enhanced educational environment. So our courses are going to be maxed out in the 70s. So this should really allow you to get to know your classmates. So you're not going to be in a large lecture classroom with 100 plus students. It's going to be something that's significantly more intimate. And we believe that it helps you build a more collaborative community as opposed to that more competitive environment that you may see at some programs. For us, it's that spirit of collaboration that actually continues after you leave Tepper. And I think that's a great example of why our alumni base are so supportive of our current students and so accepting of their outreach, which again is something that's very positive. And I really encourage you to always connect with current students at an institution to really get a better sense for how receptive alumni have been to their outreaches. Now, I want to transition from talking about some of the implicit values of the program, and I want to talk about some of the explicit values that are associated with the return on investment. So the first number that I really want to dive into is one that showcases the return on investment. It's the 100% internship percentage or rate of our 2024 class of MBA students. Now, I think this not only speaks to the talent of the class and the quality of the students we bring in, but also to the hard work and support provided by our Master's Career Center. So again, if you're looking at the 270 sponsored events or the 4,000 plus sessions of one-on-one coaching, the different relationships they built with recruiters, and again, the access to the top companies they provide, you can see it really pays off in this area. As you can see, Uh, it pays off by helping you really navigate your chosen career path. There's students that have interest in a range of industries, but tech in this case happens to be the highest with a percentage of 33. But, not pictured, there's still great options both in consulting and financial services. Yes, they're also in double digits, and they're also followed closely by healthcare as well. Now, if you're wondering where those students are interning, they're primarily interning in the US. Roughly about 97% of them intern in North America, and about 75% are spread out between the Mid-Atlantic, the East Coast, and the West Coast. And they're spread out roughly in that order as well, with the Mid-Atlantic being the top percentage, East Coast being second, West Coast being third. However, if you're interested in working, whether it's the South or the Midwest, again, those are also very viable options. Truthfully, it's more so focused on where our students are interested. So where their interest lies, where they typically choose to intern, and in that particular region of the country. Now, our students are also fairly compensated during this time as well. As you can see, students who choose to intern within the consulting industry, they actually average a median monthly compensation of about $15,000. However, those in the financial services industry, they're averaging about roughly $11,000. Again, the compensation is going to vary by function, but I hope that it does provide some added context. Now, I want to take a look at some more information. So again, you go from the internships to additional job offer. So ideally, that's how this process works. You get summer intern, official job offer, and many of our students actually follow that path. If you're looking at this list, you're going to see a few of our top employers. These are some of the more frequent landing spots for our students. You see tech companies like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, as well as consulting firms like McKinsey, Bain, and BCG, as well as financial services like Capital One. Again, these are just some of these top companies, but let's take a second and we're going to look at some of the outcomes by industry instead. Now, you can see that, again, consulting, technology, and financial services are still top three. However, again, that's largely based off student interest and their desired outcome before coming to the program. So I think it's very important that you understand that if you have an interest in working outside of that group, let's say you're interested in manufacturing or you have interest in consumer products or energy, that we also have a proven track record of success in those industries as well. I think it's very similar to my comment about geography from a previous slide, that at the end of the day, it's really more about the student interest that really drives where their outcomes are going to be. I would probably say it's that as well as compensation. I say it because, again, it's just true. For example, Tepper grads entering the consulting industry, they have a median starting salary of roughly around $175,000. And if you look at financial services, they have a median starting salary of roughly around $170,000. And then maybe let's say another area such as tech, that can go up to as high as $155,000 for our median starting salary for those graduates. So again, I'm sure compensation, starting salary isn't the only factor, but I also know that a financial return on investment has factored into their decisions as well. Now, I want to take one final deep dive into the employment numbers as a whole. So here you'll see that roughly, not roughly, exactly 94% of our graduates have actually closed on their offer within 3 months of graduation, and that they earn a total compensation of $192,000. So again, when we talk about the return on investment of a Tepper MBA, I think it starts with the curricular approach, but and again, that's the infusion of business analytics, and that's the ability that you'll gain to make data-driven decisions. And then you'll get that added support from the student services, like the Accelerate Leadership Center that's there to help you develop as a professional or a leader within business, as well as our Master Career Center. And again, the 2,000 plus different campus interviews that they'll help to coordinate to help you lead to these strong outcomes, which make a Tepper MBA a sound investment for our students. So again, I hope this information is helpful. I'm really excited to spend a little time actually answering some of your specific questions. As I mentioned when I started this presentation, I think the return on investment is very important and was one of the deciding factors for me to actually join the Tepper School. And I'm sure it's something that's at the top of your wish list as well. So I'm very excited to take a look at the chat and determine any and respond to any questions which you may have as well.
Thank you, Douglas. So we do have a couple of questions that have come through, and so just kind of scrolling back up. So on the ROI topics, right? So one that came through is, would you be able to quantify or expand your discussion about ROI specific for like late career students? Like, does the thought process change at all? Does the offering change? And this person mentioned someone more with like 7 to 9 years of experience versus the class average, which is probably closer to, I guess, 4 or 5, I would think, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So actually, if you look at let's say our middle 80%, so you're trying to figure out where you fall. If you look at our middle 80%, you're seeing roughly between 3 to 10 years. So for us, if you're falling within that 7 to 9 year range, you're coming to us at a point in your career where we think MBA is a perfect transition, whether you're looking to grow within your particular company or you're interested in pivoting to another. You would be in a category in which we have experience working with someone of that experience and help support their career goals. Again, it starts with the curricular focus in which you will be able to focus on a specific area. I mentioned for the student who may be interested in consulting, may be interested in switching over to product management. You may have a particular focus on entrepreneurship. You would just couple that with the particular track or concentration in which you're working in, as well as having the opportunity to take advantage of one of our student clubs and organizations to help further your career search. Then again, it follows up with the opportunity to work one-on-one with one of our Master's Career Center coaches, one of the members of our Master's Career Center, and they can be the industry expert in helping you reach that desired outcome.
It's awesome. Thank you for that help. And I hope that answered your question from earlier. Another one that came through would be, as a FANG engineer looking to land a PM role after graduation, they're concerned about leaving their job at this time to enter the market. How would you advise someone in their position to proceed? And what's the placement statistics looking like for 2024 graduates, which I will already answer that for Douglas. They don't have those numbers yet. Those numbers typically don't come out until usually 3 months or so after graduation. So Douglas, I'll help you with that one because that's kind of more industry standard type stuff. But I don't know if you have any comments on just kind of what you hear from the Career Center, how this year is looking. The internship stats, I think, looked fantastic that you displayed. So maybe, any information on that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I wouldn't be able to forecast exactly where our number is going to land this year, but typically you're not seeing a significant variation between these numbers from year to year. So they're consistently right around somewhere within that same ballpark. And I would generally expect that to be the case moving forward as well. I haven't seen any red flags from our Master's Career Center that would make me hesitant to share that information. But regarding the initial questioning and from students who are transitioning to a role as an engineer to a product management, post-graduation, again, that is also something that you typically see or many students who have a particular interest in making that transition as well. And again, I think it generally follows that same path. There are students who have questions about the marketplace as it stands right now. Then my answer to that question is, if you want to provide yourself with a competitive advantage, it's never a bad decision to upscale. Upskill yourself as well to again to give you that more competitive advantage. Also, we talked about the career tracks and the added opportunities that gives you to go out and recruit a specific area, have access to particular companies, as well as the opportunity to connect with alumni from the Tepper School that may also be working in that particular industry or function as well. So when you're looking for those advantages to help you get to where you're trying to go professionally, a Tepper MBA is really well positioned to support you in that search, particularly again from an engineer to a PM.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think the important piece there is, it's tough to predict the future. And I think, and I don't want to make this like a joke, but it may sound like a joke, so I apologize. But like, if you were to ask the folks who entered their MBA program in the fall of 2029, 2019, right? Hey, what's the job prospects going to look like when you graduate? And then all of a sudden COVID happened, right? And that obviously was a major shift in how everything operated. They had no idea that was going to pop up, right? So I think sometimes whilst things may look, maybe not to your likings today as an applicant, and you're looking at, what is this future looking like for me? When you enter a program, a 2-year MBA program, that gives you a long time to kind of figure out the future, work through whatever is happening now in the job market. And the situation today is not going to be the situation 2 years from now. So I think along with everything Douglas said, I think just generally trying to time your decision to enter an MBA program is really, really difficult to do. I think when you feel ready and this is the time for you, dive in. These schools are called institutions for a reason because they have themselves set up to kind of tackle anything. So yeah, just a little piece of advice, kind of like generally on the topic. Obviously, Douglas gave the Tepper perspective as well, which I think is fantastic. So all good stuff there. I'm going to stick on the topics related to the session, then I'll go back through some other stuff that was asked. So another question that came through, and this is another one that it's tough. It's out of Tepper's control a little bit, but Douglas, I don't know if you have an answer to this or not, but if you don't, that's fine. Likelihood of Tepper grads to receive a visa sponsorship after the STEM OPT, or is there any resource this person can consult to learn about employment opportunities specific to the international student population, which is probably the easier side to answer, I would think. I think the lottery system for visas, unfortunately, it's kind of tough to answer maybe, but I think that second piece, if you have any resource for separate stuff for internationals, could be interesting.
Yeah, no, like you said, I think it would be difficult to comment on the first component of that question. However, I will say, similar to when you looked at the statistics regarding the internships, which again, roughly about 97% took place within the United States or within North America, to be specific. Roughly around 3% of those were actually taken in countries outside of North America. And that also takes place within our students when they're looking at their full-time employment as well. So for students who are having any particular issues within their area, it's not uncommon for them to then either choose to be employed at a neighboring country or a country or their original country of origin as well. However, again, with our international students, since they have the opportunity to receive that extension, 3 years is, a significant amount of opportunity to receive some strong working experience here within the United States. So I do think that's a scenario where, at least when you're comparing that STEM MBA designation really ends up supporting our students, our international students in their recruitment efforts.
Yeah, thank you. And some of the, tough to answer sometimes, and it's not tough because we don't want to answer. I'd love to have a specific, here's the number of people that get visas, right? But sometimes it's really out of the control of the school, but lots of good resources to help with that. So now some other kind of general application questions that kind of came through, if that's okay, Douglas. I don't want to.
Yeah, no problem.
So one from earlier that was in the chat was someone who's a reapplicant, and just what advice would you give to somebody who has already applied to Tepper and now is looking to reapply and hopefully get a different result this time around?
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoy seeing reapplicants come in. For me, I think often about students trying to identify an institution that provides the right fit for them. And if you spent the time to go through 2 application cycles and you've had an opportunity to reconnect with our admission staff to learn a bit more about our program, to me, that's something I always view as favorably. What I would generally recommend for a reapplicant is something that I generally recommend with all applicants, and that is to make sure that you tackle our chart your path. I think it is an excellent tool in which we provide that allows us to not only provide an application fee waiver for our students, but also to provide a toolkit that will help them navigate the application process to ensure that they're getting personalized information that would help support them submitting the strongest application they can in front of our admissions committee. What I would always recommend as well is if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out our office. We have a team full of admissions professionals that are invested in supporting our students through their application search. So if you have questions about how to make yourself a strong candidate, again, don't hesitate to reach out.
The Chart Your Path was our last webinar we did together also. I remember that from last time. So yeah, we'll when we send the video for this, we'll make sure we'll include the video from our earlier session that we had done together in the fall. So folks attending today, if you did not attend that session, maybe you can get some information from both of those. And I think within that as well, within that presentation, Douglas, you had the link to the chart your path and how to go through it and explain that really in depth. So yeah, that's a really great resource. So we'll make sure we send that out to everybody here today also.
Thank you.
Um,
Absolutely. Also,
yeah.
just for anyone that may be else in a similar situation as a reapplicant, remember your application materials are still located within our system. So you can reload or reuse some of the same information. However, there are some things that I would highly recommend taking a second look at, such as your resume and updating us to make sure we have the most relevant and most pertinent information to your candidacy as well. And then if you made any changes within your career, you may also want to reconsider selecting a new recommender as well in that case.
Absolutely. Yeah, really good advice there. Another question that came through was actually about fee waivers. So you just answer that in there. So I'll re-mention, we'll send out the chart your path. Folks, as you go through that, there'll be information on how to accomplish that task as well. Another question from earlier in the chat, as an international applicant, should this person consider applying in round 3 because they would like to join the program as soon as they can, and they think their round 3 application will be strong as well? Obviously, this is alluding to, they didn't ask this part, but alluding to the rumor that maybe there's a more difficult time for international applicants in the later rounds. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to, if you don't mind, I think I'll probably tackle like the last comment that was made about it. So we will actually recommend, so not recommend, for our full-time program, all right, the round 3 is actually the last round in which is international applicant can apply. So it's more difficult because there is no other round for you after round 3 if you're an international applicant. However, whether you're applying in round 1, round 2, or round 3, all of our students are going to be considered based off the quality of their application. And that's the same both when it comes to admissions as well as financial aid. So again, we try to make that process as easy as we can for students, which is why we try to provide tools such as the chart your path, because we want to work with everyone to give themselves the best chance of receiving admissions offers, regardless of what stage of their career they're joining us in, regardless of their academic background, because I know many students may assume that a STEM background is more advantageous for them applying to, but truly we use a holistic process. So we will factor in the entirety of your application.
And then as we are discussing this, we have another round 3 question. So I'll stay on topic here. Do round 3 applicants, I'll just ask you generally, are there still scholarship opportunities for those applying in these later rounds as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, what we'll try to do and what we work to do is make sure that no matter what round you apply in, you're going to get the same chance of receiving admissions as well as the chance of receiving financial aid. So what you should do is select the round in which you feel that your application is going to be the strongest. If you feel like your application was strongest in round 2, then submit it then. If your application is strongest in round 3 or 4, you should submit it then, because you'll still have a chance to receive admissions and you'll have the same chance for receiving financial aid. The benefit to applying early is it gives you more time to make a decision, as well as if you decide to enroll, you have more and more time to actually prepare for the upcoming year. The reason in which we have that deadline for round 3 for our international students is more about a processing issue. We just want to make sure that they're able to tackle all the tasks that are necessary to actually join us at the start of the program. And if we wait to still allow applications around 4 and 5, it becomes a bit more difficult for students. So we want to make sure that we're providing opportunity to set them up for success. So that's the sole reason in which we have that deadline around 4 and 5 for applicants.
Absolutely, and commonplace, and there you go, right? So busting the myth of the rounds are all there for equal opportunity within each round. I think people that are hearing out on the internet, on the forums, that don't apply round 3, there's no opportunity, that is so false. And so we try to squash that whenever we can see it. So I think that's a great question to ask in this type of session, because folks, look, I say it all the time on our site, and now here you go, someone working in the admissions office saying the same exact thing. So definitely, if your application is optimal, as Douglas explained, put your best foot forward at that time, right? Regardless of which round it lines up with. If you're ready, they're ready. And so that handles that. There's a great question here, just simply, what should I not do in my application, right? So we always focus on here are the things we're looking for. What's the thing to make sure you don't do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one thing I really recommend that students do is your application is going to be static in many ways. There are some things that you just have no opportunity to change. You have no control over your transcripts at this point. For the most part, your grades are exactly what they are. When it comes to standardized testing, you have opportunity to study and prepare for the standardized test score. But once you take it, you're going to be somewhere within that specific testing range again, most likely. So when it comes to things that you can change that you can really provide a significant amount of impact, it falls on the other categories, such as a essay, such as your video interview. So when you have opportunity to partake in those, make sure again that you're comfortable, that you realize that we practice positive accuracy. Like, we're rooting for each student that actually applies to the program. We want to admit you. So know that and be comfortable when you have the opportunity to engage with us. That way you can again present yourself in the best light. So in this case, what not to do, don't be nervous. Don't harp on the things in which you can't change. Again, be present, live in the moment, and realize again that we're rooting for you and we want you to be the best version of yourself when you interact with us.
Yeah, it's such a common term we hear is that admissions reps read to admit, not look to deny, right? So it's not like that first little blip on your application. Well, that's it. You're done. That is not what happens. Your whole application is being reviewed. We're checking off all the great things you have going on, and then a second reader might check off different things or kind of piggyback off the ones that they already see checked off. And it's like you're getting 2-3 reads, you're getting a lot of positivity, and then they're looking to fulfill the class with the best overall folks. So yeah, that's awesome stuff. And so this person then also asked a second question: is there a way to have a profile check session, right? So just kind of like, can they kind of talk to somebody at admissions and just get an idea on how they're looking as an applicant, if they should move forward, if they shouldn't, and maybe any advice? Is that something that you provide?
Yeah, no, I always recommend, we try to make sure that we provide access and opportunities for you to connect with our admissions staff. So if you go to our admissions page and look at our contact us option, you'll see a brief bio of our entire team. So feel free to read up on us, reach out to us via email, and you have the opportunity to connect. We generally utilize a scheduling tool. I'll provide access to it, for example, for myself, in which we connect and have a brief conversation, 15, 20, 30 minutes. Again, the goal for those questions is to provide some added insight into our process for you, as well as to be able to give you further details to help determine when is the best time for you to submit an application, as well as also providing more insight on particular programs. That way you can decide which program is also the best one for you to apply to.
Awesome stuff once again. And so what I'll say to that as well is that the Clearmit site, we have a tool called ApplyWire. So if you do want to get some more advice, right? So obviously contact Tepper directly. If you're looking for like different points of view, or just to kind of like, give you some different things to look at, we do have an ApplyWire tool where you can enter your information, and our team, who has experience in the field, can also provide some thoughts and feedback and recommendations for you. So to piggyback off of that, another question on here is, what kinds of questions can someone expect in the interview stage? And another Clearmit shout out, we do have an interview archives, which is free to access, where previous applicants and interviewees of programs put in the questions that they were asked. So it's a nice little treasure trove of information for you. So you can look up the Tepper questions from applicants from round 1, or folks who may have already had their interview for round 2, and get an idea, what's the vibe like, what information do they have, what questions do they ask. Douglas, what else would you want to tell them? What's the interview like for Tepper's program?
So I just got done doing the interview. So
There you go. Okay.
yeah, no. So
Good timing.
absolutely. One thing I always try to remind people again, so I mentioned the charter path, but it actually has the entire video about demystifying the interview process. So it's roughly somewhere between 8 and 15 minutes of a video that we'll actually share with you, that will break down the interview process for all of our candidates. So again, please make sure you access that if given an opportunity. Now, when it comes to the type of questions in which we're asking, again, the goal of the interview is to make sure that we have opportunity to better understand you and your interests within our program. So our questions will be more so focused on learning more about you, your interest in the Tepper MBA, more about your career goals, and where you can see an MBA helping to support your career, both your short-term and long-term career goals as well. We'll also spend some time potentially asking some questions, some follow-up questions about maybe some information we could have gathered from your application that we may want some additional insight as well. For us, we typically use a more behavioral based approach to the interview process as well. So just making sure that you're brushing up on those and you're able to provide some concrete examples from some of your work experience, make sure you can utilize that STAR method. That tends to be a very tried and true method of interviewing that I generally recommend people at least be familiar with prior to interviewing. Hopefully that's a bit helpful, but again, those truly will be the things that we'll focus on.
I would say generally too. I mean, it's something to prepare for, right? But like as you mentioned earlier, like be yourself. Don't make yourself extra nervous. Like the whole point is that we want you. We don't want this robot version of you that's perfectly prepared for everything. So it's nice to know what's coming to you, and watching the video and chart your path will help you. When you get in there, like just be you. Like you're talking to another human, and it's gonna be fine. Like you'll get through it. Hundreds and thousands of people have done it before, right? So so you'll be good. Just be yourself, answer the questions, hang out with the interviewer, and if you get someone like Douglas, it's awesome. I mean, super awesome and easy to talk to. So that could be really great. So let's see, a couple more questions just came in. So one might be a little faster. How many seats are there in the full-time program?
Yeah, so you're not going to see a set criteria in which let's say a example. I think last year we enrolled 175 students. I may be wrong about the specific number, but let's say we did. We're not going to have to meet that exact same number this year. We're going to enroll the students that we believe are the best fit for the program. As long as we still have space, and for us, that space is no more than 70, no more than 80 students within the classroom, then that allows us to have a little bit of flexibility. But again, the most important thing for us is finding students who are a strong fit for our community. The academic rigor, the program is rigorous, absolutely. There's a particular skill set in which students need to be successful within the program. But the trouble isn't really finding students that fit that criteria. We're very fortunate enough with many of the students who are interested in our program have a strong background in those particular areas that have shown some type of propensity to be able to do the work within that within the program. But for us, it's more so about finding students that are good fit for our community, students who are done the research, who can easily speak to their fit at Tepper and showcase that in other ways as well. Those are students that are going to be a good fit for the program. The students that, again, are a little bit more about that collaborative nature. So those are students who are good fit for us, and students who are interested in this type of program, we're a good fit for them. So it kind of works both ways. And I think you should do that when you're interacting with all admissions professionals, particularly in an interview. So I'm interviewing students. Students should be interviewing us. You should be trying to determine is Tepper is the right place for you to pursue your graduate business education.
Great point. That fit word that you hear, right? It goes both ways. It's a great point. A question on folks interested in entrepreneurship. If you have any information on the questions about on-campus accelerators, but I guess just more generally also just anything you have going on at Tepper for people who may want to start a business someday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the Schwartz Center for Entrepreneurship is a huge advantage for us here at the Tepper School of Business. But not only that, we also have the curricular focus on it, as I mentioned, both in the concentration as well as the track. If you have a focus and interest on entrepreneurship, you have an opportunity to build that through your curriculum, as well as opportunities to engage in the student clubs and organizations, as well as the opportunity to connect with faculty, as well as visiting fellows and other professionals who have an interest in connection with the Schwartz Center for Entrepreneurship. And I think it's also important to recognize that location is housed at the Tepper School of Business, but we have students who are visiting from all over Carnegie Mellon as well. So you have the opportunity to take advantage of the entire brain power of the institution by working directly with the Schwartz Center.
I mean, that's huge, right? Because sometimes you may meet your business partner outside of the business school, but still at the same university, and maybe they have a different background, different skill set, and so that collaboration at a university is it's awesome, really amazing stuff there. Another question that came in, which may be tough because I'll preempt this. I think a lot of this type of stuff could be more based on each individual person, right? Because it's not like there's just a bunch of jobs sitting around and Tepper just tells people where they're going to go. It's kind of like individual based. So the question came in that said, what are some receptive jobs and or industries, I guess, for older candidates, because this person heard through the grapevine that consulting jobs and investment banking jobs might not be too receptive to older candidates. So another myth buster opportunity here for you.
Yeah, so it's funny. Sometimes I think these questions, I think I truly understand where they come from, but I think the large issue is, those jobs are competitive in nature, so they're competitive for all applicants, particularly something such as investment banking. Uh, so similar to what we say with application process, right? Because we'll have candidates who will share similar information that I'm at a later stage in my career. I'm not sure as an MBA if I would be competitive because of it. It's the same process when you're applying for a job. At the end of the day, they're going to take the candidate they feel is going to best serve the needs of their company or the external partners in which they work with. So again, for us, I think, coming to our program, taking advantage of everything in which we have to offer, should better position you to be able to take advantage or reach those desired outcomes. The reason in which I wanted to talk a bit more about the ROI is because at the end of the day, I'm an admissions professional, but the proof is in the numbers. So obviously I appreciate that everyone has the opportunity to speak with me directly, but we actually do lay out this information in our employment report, and all of these schools do as well. So I will spend more time focusing on that. And again, you have access to the class profile, so you can see the age groups in which our students come in. But even with that being said, know that 10% of our students fall outside of that category as well. So 10% of our students have beyond 10 years of work experience before they enter in the program, and they're going to various range of professional postings after that. And I'm sure some of which will fall into those categories that you may be more concerned about.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That was the last question we have on the board currently. So if there's another one that comes in, we will tackle it. And if not, we may be close to closing up. Douglas, I don't know if you had any other tips or advice pieces or anything else you wanted to share with our attendees before signing off, just in case that is the last question. But yeah, so anything else that you want to provide, I guess?
Yeah, no, one thing I would highly recommend, and it's something that I really think is a huge benefit, not just to us as an institution, but it's a benefit to the students who are going through the application process, and that's the opportunity to connect with a current student. I think they're a great resource. They're going to tell you how it is. They're not paid by the university. Their whole goal is just to provide and share their truth. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to them. For us, our student ambassadors are located on our website, and you can actually filter based off the program in which they're in. For us, that could be the full-time or online hybrid program. You can filter by their classification, so the year in which they'll be graduating. And you can also get added insight into their hometown, as well as their curricular focus as well, such as the concentration or track that they may have partaken in. And I think that can really help narrow down some particular students who could be more useful in answering some of those more specific questions in which you may have about what it's actually like to be a current student within the program. And again, I recommend that you do this, obviously, for the Tepper School, but truthfully, any school that you're seriously considering.
Yeah, that's great advice, and great to be able to find that right on the Tepper website. So anybody who is interested in doing that, travel over there, look for the ambassador program. I agree, it's a fantastic way to do it. And then we'll also be getting out this video as well as the Chart Your Path video to a previous webinar we've done. So you can all find the Chart Your Path information on Tepper's website as well. So that's another piece that we discussed a few different times today that I think could be helpful to people who have attended. Other than that, I think, we've covered a lot. Douglas, this was like a pretty active chat, which is awesome. So thank you all for all the questions that you've asked, and we covered a lot of different topics. So hopefully we're seeing some future Tepper. What's the, what do we call it? Is there like a mascot at Carnegie Mellon? I don't know why I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah,
Bulldogs?
the Tardens.
Cardins?
Tardens. Yeah, I know
Okay.
that one is a bit deep.
So yeah, so future, yes, them coming into the classroom starting soon, maybe for some round 3 applications. We had those questions as well. So Douglas, thanks for your time and for hanging out with us, answering a lot of questions, and being such a great resource.
Thank you. It was enjoyed to be here.
Awesome. And thank you all for attending. We'll get this video out to you within the next couple days, and hopefully we'll see you at another future event soon. Thanks a lot.